There was an ancient writing composed shortly after the Scriptures called the Didache. It's the instructions of the 12 apostles, and it was mainly written, it seems, for those people, giving instructions for those people coming into the church, ready to get baptized. It starts off by talking about there are two ways to live one's life. One way will lead to life, one will lead to death, and there is a big difference between the two. In that entire document, the Beatitudes seems to season all of the do's and do nots. One of them says, do not be a grumbler. It only leads to blasphemy. And I thought, be a grumbler. To be a complainer leads to blasphemy. I thought to myself, that seems to be a little sin moving to a great big sin. But you know, there's a certain truth to that, and that's really the gist of my homily today. To be a grumbler is one who kind of aims at saying to God, you don't matter in my life. You are not being good to me. You are, in fact, it gets to the point where you can even say God doesn't matter at all. He doesn't exist for me. It's the same theme that comes from Jeremiah today when he talks about these two different plants. The bush in the desert, wind-blown, dry, lifeless, as opposed to the tree, deep roots, planted by the stream, able to endure any kind of adversity. So what are we? What are we to be? What are we tending towards? That lifeless bush, living tree. Towards death, towards life. Towards woes, or towards blessings. Luke's version of the Beatitudes is different from Matthew's. He gives us 4 Beatitudes and then 4 woes. And he places the teaching on the plain. Matthew gives us 8 Beatitudes and places him, Jesus, on a mountain. And he gives us these Beatitudes. But the 4 Beatitudes are in contrast to the 4 woes. Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And woe to you rich, your consolation is now. So we can ask ourselves some questions from these two contrasting statements. Do we own our possessions, or do they own us? Do you think first about how you can find ways to be generous with what God has given you? Or is your first thought how you can make more money? Do you see what you have as really belonging to God and you being a receiver? Or do you see it all as created by you? Now, one could say that those two extremes are pretty hard to live, be on one end or the other. But it really has to do with one's attitude towards one's possessions. So that even the poor can find themselves happy, and the rich can find themselves sad. Blessed are the hungry, they will be satisfied. Blessed are those, or woe to those who are filled now, they will be hungry. There's a story about John D. Rockefeller. Years and years ago, he lived around the turn of the century. And at 23, he was already a millionaire. And at the age of 50, he was the first billionaire that ever existed. He was the richest man in the world in those days. And yet, he was a miserable miser. Physical diseases plagued him. He could have bought any restaurant he wanted to and had the best food, yet he had to live on milk and crackers because of the ulcers in his stomach. At the age of 53, he was told by the doctor, you have about a year to live. You either change your lifestyle or you will die. And it was enough to wake him up, to realize that he had been pretty miserable in his life, and he had brought that misery on himself. And so he decided to make a change. Instead of being a grabber, he started to become a giver. He gave to churches and hospitals and foundations, and he's responsible for a lot of the medical things that we take for granted today because of the donations he made to medical research. Interestingly enough, he lived to be 90. Blessed are those who are weak. Those who weep, they will laugh. And blessed and woe to those who laugh now, they will grieve and weep. And we live in a society that idolizes wealth and strength. There's no doubt about it. The physical strength, strong body, the beautiful body, and also the wealthy. But the reason we honor that, or we seem to idolize it so much, is because it's a cover-up. It's a cover-up for what really animates us, and that is fear and anxiety. We fear loss. We are anxious about everything we have. Could we possibly lose it tomorrow? Could we be toppled from whatever height we have raised it to? How quickly that happens seemingly in our society. And so we live this kind of anxiety and this kind of fear constantly, and we try to control it by what we do, by accomplishing things, by having things, by owning things, and all of this is just a cover-up for what's underneath. We're not really in a relationship with God whereby He gives us the ability to not be fearful. Do not be afraid, constantly, He tells us. At the end of Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, there's a section in there on the good wife. And in that good wife part, sometimes that's even used at funerals for moms to describe them as being very productive and very, very caring for their families and always looking forward. And there's a line in there that's really kind of neat. She laughs at the days to come. She laughs at the days to come. In other words, she has such a positive view about the way things will be because she's bringing her faith into everything that she does. Yes, she continues to work hard. Yes, she provides for her family, but she also recognizes that God is the giver of all those gifts. Dear Abby got a letter from a 15-year-old girl who wrote to her these lines. Happiness is not having your parents scold you when you come in late. Happiness is having your own bedroom. Happiness is getting that phone call you wanted. Happiness is belonging to a popular group. Happiness is being dressed well. Happiness is having lots of money to spend. Happiness is something I don't have. That letter prompted another girl to write a letter. She said happiness is reading a letter from a 15-year-old girl who can do all 4 things and still says she isn't happy. I can talk, I can see, I can hear, but I can't walk. 13, crippled and happy. 2 very different perspectives on life. One blessed, one in that woe category. One knowing her blessings and grateful for them, one not knowing her blessings. Blessed are those who hate you. They treated the real prophets the same way. Blessed are, woe to those who speak well of you. They treated the false prophets the same way. What the Beatitudes do is it turns everything upside down. In the way the world wants it to be, it's just the opposite of the way God wants it to be. Because He gives us the priorities, and He says, God first, family, then work. Keep it in that order, and things fall into place. And you won't worry about if you don't have everything, because you'll see the blessings you do have, and you'll appreciate them and be grateful for them. It's a cute little story, a comic strip of Lucy and Charlie Brown. Lucy says to Charlie Brown, Charlie Brown, have you ever known anybody who was really happy? And about that time, Snoopy comes into the scene, dancing with his ears all the way out, his nose in the air, carefree as can be. He dances off the panel. And then Lucy changes her tune and she says, have you ever known anybody who's really happy and still in their right mind? But happiness is possible. You don't have to be crazy. It means letting God be the center of your life, letting everything you have, your talents, your time, and possessions, and serve Him first, and the rest will all fall into place. And then we'll be living our lives just like that tree planted by the stream.